remarks. Mr. Bryan, a question?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. When you started your presentation, you described this as an emerging result. Does this mean your study is conclusive? Is there more work to do?
We're continuing that. For example, on the aerosol side, you notice the figures were 20% humidity. We're looking at higher humidity levels. We would expect that we even have a greater impact on the virus. We're looking at other types of disinfectants. And so we're, as a scientific community, we're continuing to study the virus to understand its characteristics.
Mr. Bryan, can you explain why some hot spots we've seen in the U.S. are hot and humid, like New Orleans, for example?
Let me explain. If you look at the coronavirus as a chain with many links, what we've done through our study is we've identified some of the weak links in that chain that the transmission of the virus depends upon. We identified that heat and humidity is a weakness in that chain. We've identified that sunlight, solar light, UV rays is a weakness in that chain. That doesn't take away the other activities, the guidance from the White House, the guidance from the CDC and others on the actions and steps that people need to take to protect themselves. This is just another tool in our tool belt, right? Another weapon in the fight that we can add to it. And in the summer, we know that summer-like conditions are going to create an environment where the transmission can be decreased, and that's an opportunity for us to get ahead.
But the president mentioned the idea of cleaners, like the bleach and isopropyl alcohol you mentioned. There's no scenario that could be injected into a person, is there? I mean,
No, I'm here to talk about the findings that we had in the study. We don't do that within that lab, at our lab. So
Are we simplifying
through
too
injection?
much?
We're talking about almost a cleaning and sterilization of an area.
Right.
Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't work, but it certainly has a big effect if it's on a stationary object.
Okay.
So how do you... Are we simplifying too much by saying that it'd be better with the warmer weather and the sun coming out more and more, that people would be outside than staying inside their home, confined into the four walls of their house?
it would be irresponsible for us to say that we feel that the summer is just going to totally kill the virus and that if it's a free-for-all and that people ignore those guides. That is not the case. We have an opportunity, though, to get ahead with what we know now and factor that into the decision makings for what opens and what doesn't.
But are you saying on surfaces, the heat, the hot summer, and whatever other conditions, humidity and lack of humidity, that would have an impact? So that on surfaces where it can be picked up, it will die fairly quickly in the summer, whereas in the winter it wouldn't die so quickly.
Yes, Mr. President. When it's exposed to UV rays, take a playground equipment, for example. The UV rays hitting a piece of playground equipment will kill the virus when it hits on the playground equipment. But underneath, where the sun does not get, if someone touched that and had it on their hands, it could still be there, right? It has to be in direct light of the UV rays.
With the sun, if it's on somebody's hands, right, and they haven't touched their face and all of the things.
And
that
it's
we've
exposed
all
to
been-
the sun.
I know, but if they're outside, right, and their hands are exposed to the sun, will that kill it as though it were on a piece of metal or something else?
I don't want to say it will at the same rate because it's a non-porous surface, but what we do know is that we looked at the worst case scenario and the virus lives longer on non-porous surfaces. So porous surfaces, it doesn't live quite as long. So in theory, what you said is correct.
This is sort of semi-non-porous, right? Yes, right?
Yes, Mr. President.
Mr. Bryan, could do this.
Wait.
Mr. Bryan, how should governors who are opening their states, working on that, incorporate the findings of this study into those guidelines?
I would leave that up to the governors. This is a decision. This factors into their decision process. As I mentioned, with knowing this knowledge and having this knowledge, as we continue to study and further know what the virus does and how it reacts, it could impact the way a governor will look at what he opens in a state, how he opens it, in what environments these things are opened up. But I leave that up to the governors to make that decision. How they incorporate this.
Obviously, at the moment, the advice is stay at home. By the summer, could we be flipping that and saying you'd be much better off being outside with UV rays, all the humidity that Washington brings in August?
I would not go contrary to the guidance that have been issued right now. I think, though, to tell you that if I'm having an event with my family, I'm doing it in the driveway or in the backyard, not inside the house with my children.
In fact, I'm thinking about moving outside to the rose garden. No, it's a very interesting.